Coming up on today's Airborne, the Beechcraft Corporation reports a strong finish to 2013. Joe Frakes is initiating plans to restart the Mallard program. And Ireland's decision with Norwegian Air threatens U.S. airline jobs. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. The Beechcraft Corporation said in a report delivered Monday that in the fourth quarter, the company delivered 72 commercial Beechcraft products, compared to 48 Beechcraft airplanes delivered in the same period the previous year. Throughout the entire year, the company saw a 64% increase in deliveries, with 205 commercial Beechcraft products delivered during 2013, compared to 125 in 2012. Deliveries of King Air Series aircraft rose from 89 in 2012 to 135 in 2013. In the piston aircraft segment, which includes the G-58 Marin and G-36 Bonanza, deliveries rose 94% over the last year. In addition to these commercial aircraft, Beechcraft delivered 34 T-6 military trainers throughout the year. Beechcraft CEO Bill Boyster said, quote, "In addition to the impressive full-year delivery numbers, we saw our highest booking rates in years," end quote. The company concluded the year with the announcement that Textron has agreed to acquire Beechcraft. The transaction is expected to close during the first half of 2014. Joe Frakes has announced the creation of Mallard Aircraft, a new venture to reintroduce the Turban Mallard amphibious utility commuter VIP and special mission aircraft. Aviation industry veteran Sam L. Jantzen Jr. will head up the program, including market introduction and global manufacturer selection for initial Mallard production. The all-new Turban Mallard heralds back to the original Grumman design, only with 21st century upgrades, including all-new Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6 engines, Rockwell Collins avionics, and a host of other details and design features. The Turban Mallard is the only transport category aircraft expressly designed for amphibious flight, and is also one of the most powerful and capable. Thanks to its PT6 engines, it flies faster than its competition and is customizable for any mission requirement with room for up to 17 passengers. You're watching Airborne. We'll be back after these messages with more news and our feature of the day.
ADS-B will be mandatory for most aircraft by 2020 in the United States. But you can benefit from ADS-B today with the Bendix King KT-74 Mode S transponder. The KT-74 meets the global mandates for ADS-B out when attached to a suitable WAAS GPS. Rebuilding the sport aviation world one aviator at a time. That's A&N's new Aerosports ebook series, your resource guide to the ultimate in aviation adventures. Aerosport will feature the straight skinny on learning and enjoying 16 unique aviation sports, from ultralights and ballooning to aerobatics, gyroplanes and hang gliders to parachuting, home builds and general aviation to RC models. All this and more will be coming soon with the new updatable Aerosport guide for your favorite electronic devices. Get your advance order in now at www.aero-sport.net.
Welcome back. If you'd like to make a suggestion for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or our podcast, you can always drop us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. The Airline Pilots Association International maintains that Norwegian Air International's announcement that it has received an Irish Air Operator Certificate, even though the company will not serve Ireland, creates the same flag of convenience scenario that led to the U.S. maritime industry's demise and to the loss of tens of thousands of U.S. jobs. Captain Lee Moak, ALPA's president, said, quote, "Today's announcement that Ireland has granted an air operator certificate to Norwegian Air International raises the key air safety question of how the Irish government will exercise its oversight responsibility when NAI never actually operates to or through Ireland," end quote. A subsidiary of Norwegian Air Shuttle and based in Norway, NAI is seeking to operate its long-haul flights as an Irish airline expressly to avoid Norway's employment laws, which runs contrary to the US-EU Air Transport Agreement. Captain Moak continued, quote, NIA wants to gain an unfair advantage over U.S. airlines by dodging its national laws and violating the spirit and intent of the U.S.-EU Air Transport Agreement. These legal concerns require that the U.S. Department of Transportation flatly reject NAI's foreign air carrier permit application, end quote. It's Friday at last, and that means it's time for ANN's CEO and editor-in-chief to check in with his weekly barnstorming commentary. In the musical play Oklahoma, a song exclaimed that farmers and ranchers can be friends. This week, Jim says the same thing about general aviation and UAVs. Here's this week's barnstorming.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi, folks. There's been an awful lot of news being made by UAV, unmanned air vehicles, and various counterparts, whether they be an outgrowth of the radio control model industry with cameras and other instrumentation attached, all the way up to the Predator and other drones. And the fact of the matter is that general aviation and a good part of sport aviation, even commercial aviation, is running around scared of its shadow and talking about all the dangers that may be coming. Now, they're not wrong about all that. There are tremendous hazards whenever you start throwing other elements into the air with the elements that are already there, especially when those elements don't necessarily have a way to intelligently check what's a conflict, what's in the way, and what they need to avoid. But the fact of the matter is this: the UAV industry is here to stay. We're not going to see less of them. We're going to see more of them. And my observations of the technology are really quite extraordinary. Now, I'm very familiar with the model industry. I'm very familiar with some of the high-end components. I've had a chance to participate in operation and even some testing of some of the vehicles that have become very popular over the last few years in a number of regimes, both civilian and military. I have to tell you, there's a lot we can learn from it, a lot we can benefit from it. And if the aviation industry wants to look at a great business opportunity, as well as an opportunity to bring more technology into our industry, we need to embrace what's happening. And I'm not saying we have to accept everything that's coming our way, but we need to look at it carefully, be a constructive ally to making sure that these vehicles operate safely in our airspace, making sure that we, manned flight, are always the priority. But look at this, benefit from the technology. What we're seeing, especially from some electronics, from some of the electronic propulsion, from some of the other control systems that are being developed, are really quite extraordinary. It's stuff that general aviation, commercial aviation, you name it, can benefit from if you partner with, instead of creating an enemy and creating a barrier. God only knows what might result. We have the ability to benefit greatly from this technology, and this technology has the potential to greatly enhance general aviation. But most important, we have the ability, should we choose to use it, to make sure that these devices work within our system in a way that complements rather than conflicts. Think about it. For the Aero-News Network, Airborne and Aero-TV, I'm Jim Campbell.
The U.S. General Services Administration and NASA have selected Google subsidiary Planetary Ventures, LLC, as the preferred lessee on a lease to rehabilitate historic Hangar One and to manage Moffett Federal Airfield, currently managed by NASA's Ames Research Center in Moffett Field, California. The lease will put Hangar One to new use and eliminate NASA's management cost of the airfield. Despite the importance of this management change, it's hard to not focus on one of aviation's most historic landmarks. Hangar One is one of the world's largest freestanding structures, covering 8 acres, and has long been one of the most recognizable landmarks of California's Silicon Valley. It was originally built in the 1930s by the Navy as a hangar for their USS Macon dirigible. Hangar One has fallen into disrepair, and we at ANN are glad to hear that this monument to naval aviation will be restored. Airborne is brought to you by some of the best sponsors in the aviation business. We'll be right back.
Redbird Skyport is a multifaceted aviation laboratory charged with developing innovative solutions to the issues facing the industry.
It started out as a vision for a laboratory where we could objectively measure the systems and the processes that we were developing. Being able to put some objective measures behind the anecdotal evidence that we have about the value of motion and the application of this technology is very, very important, because until we can objectively measure it and play that data back, we can't design training systems that make the best use of it.
For more information about Redbird flight simulations, as well as Redbird's new Skyport, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com or www.redbirdskyport.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to be a supporter of Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or our podcast, drop us an email to jim@aero-news.net. Cold weather in Wisconsin did not deter close to 400 people from pouring into Pioneer Airport in Oshkosh on Saturday for the EAA's annual Skiplane fly-in. Locally, the flying conditions were favorable, with light winds and partly cloudy skies, allowing 26 ski planes to participate. Unfortunately, further south of Oshkosh, harsher weather prevented a number of pre-registered ski plane owners from flying in. In keeping with aviation tradition, where there's a fly-in, there's food. EAA volunteers prepared and served 268 pounds of chili with all the fixings and 128 pounds of broccoli cheese soup for the attendees. That averages about 1 pound of food per person. Way to go! Pilots may not use their personal electronic devices, or PEDs, in the cockpit unless it's in relation to the aircraft's operation. Tom Patton reports.
The FAA has issued a final rule that reinforces that airline pilots cannot use PEDs for personal use in all operations. The rule codifies existing FAA policies and satisfies a mandate included in the FAA Modernization and Reform Act of 2012. The rule prohibits all passenger and cargo commercial airline flight crews from using their own wireless communications devices or laptop computers for personal reasons during all aircraft operations. The agency's 1981 sterile cockpit rule already forbids pilots to engage in distracting behavior during critical phases of flight. The rule reflects current flight deck operating procedures and imposes minimal cost to the airlines. The amended regulatory language defines what is to be considered to be a personal wireless communications device and clarifies that the ban does not apply to the use of such a device if the use is directly related to the operation of the aircraft or for emergency, safety-related, or employment-related communications. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
Well, that's our program. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Please remember, Airborne is streamed 3 times a week and is always online. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new edition of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.